Well, hi, folks. This is Jim Peacock with another Peak Careers interview. Today, I have two guests that we're going to talk about the 3 words to guide us in this upcoming year, and kind of what are the words, what do they mean, how do we pick them? So basically, Sue is coming in from Canada. All right, Canada, West Coast, and Sheila is our I thought she was a New Englander. I think she still is, but she's out cruising around on the West Coast right now too. So I'm really happy to have both of you guys doing this. I'm really excited about this. I've been doing this 3-word activity for a few years now, and I really just find a lot of value in it. So we're going to talk about the words and how we choose them. But Sue was born in Korea, moved to Canada in 2007. And she's a career development practitioner, human resource management, and essential skills training person who works at the college on the West Coast of Canada. Sheila is a nationally certified career counselor, works with high school and college students and early career clients struggling to identify their vocation. And folks can read the rest of those bios if you'd like. I want to dive into our conversation here, and I love this topic. I do it like I said, I've done it for I think 6 years now. But why don't we start with Sue? What are your 3 words, and what do they mean to you? What is it? Because all the words mean something different to people. So
yes, my 3 guiding words are hope, presence, and connection. These 3 guiding words come from pretty much one story last year. Many people have been a tough year in 2021, including myself. I had a family loss last April. My sister has suffered from kidney disease over 30 years. So she stayed at a hospital for a while. She came back home. She and we had a conversation through the app, and how she's feeling, how she's doing, things like that. Her hands are swollen and numb, so it wasn't easy for her to text words and letters and stuff. So she liked using emojis and characters. So when I asked her, she said 2 thumbs up, big smiley face. And then she said, "I'm grateful to be back home." Day after she passed away.
oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
That's okay. It had been really tough and difficult, not being able to visit, not being able to see her, not being able to visit her funeral because of COVID restrictions. For a few months later, one word really stuck in my mind was hope. She taught me what real hope is. Even day before she passed away, I mean, obviously she didn't know, but she still 2 thumbs up, and she's so happy to be back home. What real hope means to somebody's life. And I really think this is how people can think in a life, how we can the way of thinking in general. So it was this. Then secondly, presence. Despite all this happening, the come back to your life, work and study, you still have to deal with it. So many things happening. I still was very suffering my mental health and my emotions going through it. One day I was watching and playing with my daughter, and I kind of thinking to myself, no matter what, the life goes on, and really how important you being present, being mindful is. And lastly, connection is only one reason I was able to survive and still live as who I am was just because of my friend and family. They are always there for me, and they're willing to be beside me. And the true connection is such a valuable, essential for myself and everybody else. I learned that I received a lot from last year, and these guiding words are my reminders for this year, because I like to give these to others. That's why I chose the 3 words.
I love it. That's a great story about those words. Again, like for me, last year's word was be, which is presence. That's what you've done with presence. And I kind of played around with that, but be was to be in the moment, to always be right there. That was one of my words last year, but I love that, the presence. So hope, presence, and connection. Awesome. Sheila, why don't you talk a little bit about what are your 3 words and what do they mean to you?
Sure, thanks, Jim. Actually, you're one of the people that introduced me to this idea, and kind of happened. I always believe like the universe is talking to you, and I had another fellow career counselor also introduce me to words, and I used to just adopt like one word, and a few years ago I started using 3 words because they represent both me personally or spiritually, but also kind of in my personal life and then in my professional life. So I think 3 words serves well to kind of capture all those aspects of my life. And this year's 3 words are finish, optimism, and community. And finish came to me because I was thinking a lot about my next steps. You know, the last year and a half with COVID really gave me an opportunity to think about my work and to reevaluate. And one of my job coaches had recommended a book by John Acuff called Finish. Because what I realized was I'm great at starting, but I need to focus on actually finishing something and completing it. And so that's my word. It really came from that book and from some conversations. And one of my words 2 years ago was languishing. We were going through a lot of personal family transitions with a move and so forth. And I just decided to kind of languish and let things percolate. But now I need to finish. I need to make decisions about my focus in my career and what's that kind of like that capstone or that thing that I want to leave as my legacy. So finish is something that helps me to visualize that. Now, optimism, that was one that kind of came to me by surprise. I think I was influenced again, kind of like what you said, Sue, the events of the last year and some, we had some family loss as well. And I've certainly used the word positivity before. And there's a difference between positivity and optimism. And the reason I decided to pick optimism is that I was reading a poem by Gandhi, or maybe it was a quote, but it made me look up the word optimism and realize that it's being hopeful, but also being realistic. So just dealing with what's in front of you, but being hopeful for the future, as opposed to maybe being like saying, rah, 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 this is going to be great, when you know you have hurdles in front of you. So I think there's a confidence there, but it's realistic. So that's where the word optimism comes from. And I also think that it's just a little reminder for me, because we all get kind of sucked into the vortex of going on social media, and I call it the doomsday scroll, where you just kind of go down a rabbit hole of some negativity. And that's just like a daily reminder for me to kind of shed some of those habits and not get drawn into that. And I think that kind of reflects well with my interactions with my friends, my family, and my clients. And then finally, the third word, community, that's more for me personally. I think I've done a great job of building a network through my work colleagues and contacts and clients, but I've realized that you know, the last couple of years between my moving and with COVID, that finding community and defining community can mean different things to different people. And I'm focusing on nourishing community and really finding ways to stay in touch with people in an enriching way.
Oh, I like that. Makes me want to I have to write the word nourishing down because that might be a good word for next year too. So let me thanks very much. Community, that was one of my words too that I came up with. And so community for me was, I got thinking about, you know, it's really easy to get into what I call the vortex of negativity, right? It's this downward spiral, and there's been, Lord knows, there's been so much. This is pandemic, and there's so many things that our country's divided, and it's like, oh my God, just I don't want to read about it. I don't want to do it anymore. And I was really thinking about, I really want to spend time with people that I want to spend time with. Period. I mean, I'm not going to ignore people or, but I'm not going to go out of my way to spend time with people who aren't adding value to my life. And so that was really for me community. And I have my family, my immediate family. We actually do Zoom calls. We're all over a couple in Michigan, Minnesota, Tennessee, and me in Maine. But we have siblings, and my dad, 95, he's still, they're able to, everybody gets on the Zoom call Tuesday nights, and it's awesome, So there's that community we look forward to. But then I've got some really, really good friends. I've got my 2 backpacking buddies who I've been with for 40 plus years. We've backpacked all over out west. We've done the Pacific Crest Trail, and those guys have finished the 2,600 miles, and we're now doing more, but we've hiked together for so long. We actually get together. Actually, I just Zoomed with them a couple hours ago. We get together every 3 weeks on Zoom now. That's part of my community. I have local friends, and then I also think about my local community in general, even the people I don't know, but I really want to try to do some outreach and do something in my local community. So for me, it's really that community, but there's a lot of optimism buried in there. I want to do something good, and I want to hang out with people who are doing good things. So community was, and it was interesting that Sue, you chose connection first. There's really close on connection, and I wonder if some of this is an outcry of what we've lived through for 2 years, right? I mean, how important it is to really rely upon other people to get us through this, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. When I was thinking about connection, is quite aligned with belonging. We are not just fitting in, as people have to be adjusting in the conditions what they should. It's just accepting the person who this person is uniqueness, respect with this, and just accepting those. So
yeah. So my other word was positivity. Sheila mentioned the optimism, and positivity was one of those ones that I really toyed with humor. Actually going right out, just putting it right out there and go, I just want to laugh more, right? I just want to, I really was, but then I thought, well, you know what? It's more than just laughing. It's really, it is about this positivity, just looking at things in a positive way and trying to be a positive person for other people around me, right? So kind of tied to my community in a sense, but just a great reminder to be positive first. Always think, when in doubt, be positive, right? And add value. And my third word was the easiest word, balance. That was the word that that word just, I knew I was going to have that word. Even though I had rebalance only a couple of years ago, I knew for a long time, for at least 3 or 4 months now, I've known balance was going to be one of my words. My wife retired, so I'm like, I'm watching her read books in the day, and I'm thinking, man, that looks pretty cool, and I'm still working, but I still love working, but I really want to look at that whole balance and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk and Sheila, we'll start with you. So how do you go about choosing these words? How many years have you done this?
I've been doing it since 2017.
Okay.
I attended a workshop with one of my colleagues, and she uses vision boards as a way to start the new year. And that's what got me onto having my defining words for the year, because I had to develop a vision board.
So is that
So
how
it was a good process.
Is that how you choose your words?
So I choose my words now, and then I develop my vision board. So I choose my words through meditation and reflection. I think about the year ahead, and then as opposed to having like New Year's resolutions, I like to think about some personal and professional goals that I have, as far as things that I would like to, accomplish or represent, or just kind of make that my focus. And so I use some of her workshop material still to kind of get to that point. And one thing that I've really incorporated is just kind of noticing what's around me, noticing what people say, what I'm reading, what pops up in the news or in conversations, in my book group, or in professional circles. And that tends to influence me. So for example, the recommendation of this book was huge for me in that defining word of finish. And I just kind of like take some of the things from the universe and then apply that to my words. And I sit with my words for a couple of weeks. So I'll be doing my vision boards probably this weekend. I'll do a small vision board. I like to do one in the front of my notebook, and then I may do a bigger one that I hang up somewhere that I can see daily. And that one may have like different aspects of my life and represent very kind of specifically. So what does community look like? And, so I may be looking for a very specific photo of volunteering at a food bank so that I can manifest and actually live that word. So I'm a visual learner, so the vision board is very helpful for me.
Very good idea.
I love that. I love that. Sue, how long have you been doing this 3-word?
I actually, this is really my recent discovery. I just read your post on LinkedIn, and I was just like, man, this is so great idea. And since we work from home, and then last year specifically, I realized intentional decision is so important, because since I work from home, there's really no any lines. There's no anything between there. And you really have to set your boundaries, because, I was doing something in my kitchen, and then I heard like the email is ding and sound there. And then I checked there and I realized this is important emails. And I just stopped what I was cooking back into my office. I'm working in, and as soon as I sit, that's hour working again. So intentional language, intentional decision, and also how I speak and how I use it is actually very important. And then these two mindset combine into your guiding words. And I was like, wow, this is a great idea. So yeah.
So so it sounds like the hope has kind of evolved for like 6 or 8 months now at this point, right? How was there anything specific you did to sort of get yourself into this mindset of choosing these 3 words?
I think the understanding about hope, particularly hope, had been changed and evolving. I've been teaching courses, and we talk about a lot of hope, and in my professionally or the personally, I go as a guest speakers, I'm doing this one, but my understanding about hope had been changed quite a bit. And the longer I reflected and the more I read, and hope is more about what I've been actually understanding about hope is about emotion, is about feeling how you're thinking about it. But now this is not an emotion, it's more about how I think. And it's more close to the attitude, the way of thinking about, more cognitive process, how I'm thinking about hope. So through my sister's lost experience, and then how I think, how I present in the situation that I'm facing, it is very important to come back to my life. So that's why hope is, to me, is becomes more important and bigger words for me.
So when you were coming up your 3 words, some of those words, they just kept presenting themselves to you. Is that kind of what was happening throughout the year, or?
Yeah, I showed you earlier, you know, it actually accidentally and then really coincidence, I actually did it 3 words. I didn't realize the guiding words kind of thing, but I did it last year, and I can share with that. And 2021, at beginning of the year, I bought the diary. This is my kind of annual gift for myself. Usually I buying the New Year diary, and then I always write it down, the words that I could continue reminding myself. So last year was sweaty. I realized I need more exercise. That's the kind of meaning to that. Writing, I like to write better. I like to write more. So that's writing. And third word was stable, stabilizing in my career, my life. 3 guiding words and kind of reminding. So for me, how I choose these words, daily reminders, intentionally. That's why I chose this word.
Yeah. So for me, you know, I really start thinking about these words sometime in November. I kind of start thinking about it. And then a lot of times I try to journal every day. And a lot of times I'll go back. I do a retreat. I also do a tech-free retreat, take a day and just turn everything off. And I've gone to the library in the past. I've gone to Colby College in a sort of their chapel. There was a room in the top of the chapel. That's the first one I did. And then I had a friend who had an office space, and she'd let me use her office space for a bunch of them. But I would take a day and really leave the house, turn the phone off, and just go. And I read, I journal, meditate, just reflect, write. And I use that day sort of as my real kickoff. But balance had been there for a while. As I started thinking about in November, where do I want to be? Where do I want to go? Where's that energy? Where do I want my energy to go? Right. And then the day, I actually did a values card sort, and I sat down and did a values card sort, and kind of out of that kind of came the positivity, and out of that came the community. I mean, they sort of evolved out, and then they were kind of there. But for me, it's a huge reflection time that I just need to use to sort of mess around. And I try different words, and sometimes I'll have to look up the word and check the definition. But most of the time they kind of evolve, you know, right out of that thinking time.
Absolutely. I want to go back to the word you mentioned about the energy. You did mention a few times energy, how important it is. And then interesting enough, the last day of my course, and one of the students gave me the thank you card, and she actually told me about your energy is contagious. And I didn't quite understand at that time was what kind of energy she felt from me about it. As you mentioned, energy we don't really see visually, but we feel it. And how you think, that actually comes to your behavior or some kind of action through it, and people feel that energy. So that's fascinating.
And Sheila talked about the universe. I mean, and I just think, you know, there's something, you put stuff out to the universe, right? And you say, this is important. And, you know, here's somebody gives you a book called Finish, and you're just like, all right, you know, I guess it's time to move forward, right? I mean, you put this stuff out and say, I want to know where to go. I want to know where to go. And the universe will tell you, you know, you sort of have to believe it, you know.
Sometimes you don't like the answer, but it's, you know, you have to pay attention to it. I'm curious too. I think it's interesting that all 3 of us have that sense of community and connectivity theme going on, because to me, that also represents we're craving relationships where there's a lot of trust and supportive situations where maybe we've seen some erosion of that over the last little while. So that that kind of stuck out to me as well. But I'm also curious, Jim, about your values card sort. So is that something you do once a year?
No, I haven't done the values card sort in a long time, and I'm going to write about that. I'm going to talk more about that in my blog coming up next month in February. But it was sort of Dick Nodell was a
Mhm.
big heavy hitter in our field. He passed away in December, and
Absolutely. Mhm.
I use his skills card sorts all the time with probably 75% of my clients, and I really like the skills card sort. I do it a little different than what Dick does. I sort of have a third step, and I'll use values card sort in some of my workshops, but I hadn't done them in a while. And Dick passed, and I was thinking, and I was going into my retreat, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pull these out, and skills don't change skills change over time. Obviously, the skills I have now are very different than what I had when I was 18, obviously, but values also values don't change a lot, but I think they move, and so I did a card sort with the values card sort, and it was really pretty cool. It really, for me, solidified some things, about what is important to me. So I'm still, for me, the other thing is, like Sue, I write these words down. I have them posted everywhere, but you know what? Your brain turns them off after a while. They're like flyers when you're walking down the hallway. You don't if that flyer's been there for 3 months, you don't even see it anymore. I've got it on my bathroom mirror. I've got it on my printer over here. I got it on the fridge, but I don't. But when I journal, I write those 3 words down. I don't necessarily write about those at all. I don't write about them. Sometimes I just write them. And but in that process of writing that word, I'm connecting my brain and my energies and my thinking for that day. I'm connecting that to that word. Where is positivity? What am I going to do today that's positive? Like, so the other day I was like, you know what? I got to find some TED Talks that sort of speak to this, right? That's all I put down. That's it. But it was there. It was there. And it was. And so I really think for those of you who have not done this process, and even some of you who have, I really, really encourage you to write it. Write the words down as often as you can, even if it's on the top of a to-do list. You got your to-do list you're doing every day, just write those 3 words.
Absolutely.
There's something really powerful about writing them down there. Like Sue, you held up your diary for last year. Those words are in the front. They're in the front every single day.
Well, this year I already hear sticky notes right there.
Yeah.
Jim, you actually made a really good point. I actually talked to my students a few times about YouTube. When we are searching on the internet and our Google searching around the words, and they keeps giving some relevant words around algorithm. Our brain also has a very similar patterns of things. What you think, they make a patterns about, and brain keeps collecting similar words and thoughts around and keeps giving you back. So I think that's really important, kind of reminding it and continue thinking those words and really help you out to growing it.
Yeah, I put them on my phone. So
that's a great idea.
Just there you go. You're always looking at your phone.
And I went to the local print shop and I said, "Oh, that's print me." Well, my virtual assistant Jessie, she put these words together for me in Canvas. But I said, you know what? I really want a really nice print, color print, and so that's what I have kind of around the house. And I'll find a place for those. I don't know. Maybe I'll put them in my car or something. I don't know. Well, listen, Sheila and Sue, thank you so much for carving some time out today and talking with me. I'm going to wrap up here though, and I am Jim Peacock with Peak Careers Consulting. I started Peak Careers really with the Facilitating Career Development class in 2001. Then in 2010, I developed these online discussion-based seminars for career practitioners. They're different than other online classes or seminars in that I don't run them unless I have a cohort of people. So I'll have to have at least 5 to 10 career practitioners, and we go in and we take a deeper dive for 5 weeks into different topics. I love doing face-to-face workshops. There hasn't been a lot of those lately, but I do some individual career coaching. I also wrote the field guide for career practitioners, And the adventure of finding me in New Zealand has nothing to do with the career world, but it's basically a recap of a year of travel that I did after grad school. But if you're a career practitioner, a career counselor, anyone who delivers career services, you can sign up for my weekly career emails and you'll get the top 10 tips working with an undecided person. And you can connect with me on any of these platforms. LinkedIn is my go-to. It's where I hang out the most. But feel free to connect with me on any of these platforms. Sheila and Sue, thank you both very much for sharing your words with us and what they mean to you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.